Hello. We are officially live. I'm just going to give it another minute or two and let people join. It's 2:29. So yeah, we'll give it about a minute. I'm going to get my light plugged in here. If it'll work. There we go. That's a little better. All right. Just getting set up here. Give me one moment. Hi, Johan. So glad you're here. Don't forget, there is the live chat, which I will be looking at, throughout the stream, and also I'll be revisiting it at the very end, and we'll get through everything. Woo! I got a sneeze stuck. So yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in there. If I don't answer them right away, I will be scrolling back to go over everything. All right. So let's see here. It's 2:30. Let's see. Can you just give me a yes in the chat if you can see and hear me? I want to make sure this thing is working before I go. Cool. Thank you. Okay. So today we are talking about, I put on my social media, if that's where you found out about this stream, I put cold emailing. Really, what we're talking about today applies to cold emailing and warm emailing. Warm emailing is the way that I teach client acquisition in my course in Revenue Spark. When we say warm emailing, we mean that we've already warmed up the lead and made a connection with them somewhere else before sending them an email. Whereas with cold email, they've never heard of you, you have no prior relationship, and you just send them an email out of the blue, and that is where the conversation starts. Regardless of which approach you are taking, what I'm going to cover applies to both, so that's great. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to explain, I said, I'm going to share do's and don'ts. So I'm going to tell you what to do, and then what a common alternative is that a lot of people choose, and why you shouldn't do it that way, all right? So you'll have kind of both sides of the coin. So for the first one, first tip when it comes to cold and warm emailing, when it comes to your subject line, keep it very simple and transparent. Transparent is especially important. Your subject line should give the recipient a glimpse of what they're going to learn if they open the email. Where a lot of people go wrong with this is they try to get really creative and have a lot of fun, for instance, by personalizing it, by putting an emoji in it, by trying to invoke some sense of feeling, some sense of FOMO or urgency, like making it seem like it's a time-sensitive email. And there's a really clear distinction we want to draw here. Those tactics work with other types of email marketing. Okay, so let's say you have an email list that you're growing and people subscribe to your email list. They opt in voluntarily. These are completely different types of leads because, first of all, they opted in on their own, but also assuming you nurture these leads over time, which you're hopefully doing, people on your email list already know you. They're already comfortable with you. It's a lot less formal of a relationship. So you can get away with having a little more fun with the subject line because these people know you. But when we're talking about cold and warm emailing, we're not so much talking about marketing as we are sales. Client acquisition is sales. And in terms of that type of email, you don't want to get creative with the subject line. Creative subject lines from strangers, from people we don't know, are concerning. We don't want to click on those emails. We don't like mystery. We don't like, like fun or excitement or jokes or anything like that from people we don't know. And this is really important. The success of your cold and warm emailing starts with the subject line. A lot of people, people have studied this, the numbers are different. Some people say it's 30%, some say it's 40%. I've read at the very least 30% of your recipients are going to decide whether or not they open an email purely based on the subject line. So it really can make or break it. And if they don't open the email, then nothing else matters. Now, of course, there will always be exceptions, but there are exceptions for a reason. And I don't suggest you use these, even if you think you might be an exception to the rule. But just to give you an idea, because some of this does, you have to kind of use your best judgment. Let's say you are warm emailing lawyers. Don't get creative with lawyers. It's not the time or the place. Let's say you are emailing a bakery or an online, like an apparel store, a clothing store. If you look at those examples and you look at their branding and their social media and you see that they're a very fun, young, hip brand, maybe you could get away with that. But, with those being the exception to the rule, I really suggest you stick with subject lines that they're going to seem boring, but they're safe. And the goal at this point is to just get the person to open the email. That's all we care about. We don't care about being funny. We don't care about being creative. We care about being trustworthy and transparent. So don't feel this pressure, this demand to come up with a subject line that's really witty. You don't want that. Not at this stage. Okay? And another reason we care so much about subject lines, I've got my notes up here, by the way, which is why I'm looking. Subject lines are important because Gmail especially uses the subject line to determine where it's going to put your email. For instance, if you have a word in your email that triggers Gmail's spam filter, it's going to put you in spam. It's honestly kind of hard to end up in spam. Like you have to be, there you go, perfect example. Sale with a bunch of exclamation points. We all know by now what spammy emails look like. But also something else we're trying to avoid is emails ending up in the promotions and social tabs of Gmail. And this is specifically a Gmail feature. Now, to be clear, if your email gets sent to promotions or social, it's not because you're being punished. It's because Gmail saw something in your email, whether it was in the subject line or the body of the email, that said, okay, this belongs in promotions or this belongs in social. An example is sale. Or if you have the word Facebook or Instagram in your subject line, you're going to end up in promotions or in social. Now, again, this doesn't mean you are being punished. It's not like a strike against you. But if your email ends up in one of those two other tabs, you are way less likely to be seen. So it's another reason why we stick with subject lines that are boring. I say boring, I mean simple, to the point, low key. That is your best bet for ending up in the main primary inbox, which is exactly where you want to be. And it's going to make people feel a little more comfortable when it comes to clicking on and reading your email. Okay? So that's the first one. Second one, you want to get to the point as quickly as possible. So you ace the subject line, that person opens your email. The first 1-2 sentences are the next pivotal turning point. They're the next point that could make or break it. You want to tell them right off the bat, who are you? What can you offer? And why should they care? And I know you're going to feel like you're being too aggressive. You're going to feel like it's kind of abrasive. I used to start all my emails with, I hope this finds you well, or I hope you're doing well, because I was trying to sound friendly and warm. I cut it out because the sooner you can get to the point, the better. And especially with the beginning of the email, you do not want to start the email going on and on about something that doesn't really matter at this point in the conversation. You have so little time to get their attention. You need to tell them immediately why they should keep reading. And one way to look at it is, go through that first paragraph, that introduction, and read, really sit back and look at every single sentence, every single word. And you need to ask yourself, is this 100% vital to moving the conversation forward, meaning moving it toward the close. And if it's not, or if it's iffy, that means you don't need it. Get rid of it. Okay? And I kind of call this out as its own point about this is especially important in the beginning, because when you take into consideration that your leads, these recipients might be getting over 100 emails a day, we don't have any time to waste. And I can promise you, you're not going to come across as aggressive or cold if you don't start your email with the small talk like, hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Your email doesn't need it. They don't care. Your leads don't care. The third point, kind of an extension of number 2, but I want to, again, call it out again. Your whole email. Now we're talking about even beyond the beginning of the email. It should be very concise. And again, every single sentence should serve a purpose. Now, the way I teach warm emailing, the purpose of the email is always to get the lead on the phone. That's how every email ends, is with a call to action to get the lead on the phone. So in that case, and we do that because that's the easiest way to close. It's easier to close on the phone than it is by email. So in that case, if the ultimate goal of the email is to get that person on the phone, then you're going to read through every sentence of your email, of your template, and you're going to say, is this necessary to ultimately get them on a call? And if it's not, you delete it. This is something I'm always telling you guys. When you're sending an email to your leads, whether it's a cold email or a warm email, the email needs to be entirely about them. So, you can ask them a couple of questions just to kind of start learning more about them. But really, your email needs to convey why they should care about you, why they should read your email, why they should get on the phone. A phone call is an even bigger time commitment than just reading an email. So you have to think about it from their perspective. And this is one of the reasons I always tell you guys, don't spend your email talking about yourself. And I don't mean this to sound harsh, they don't care about you. They care about what they can get out of you. So if you do start talking about your services, your experience, it needs to be from the angle of, here are the services I offer and how they can help you. Here are the services I offer and how you'll benefit from them. You have to always think, what's in it for them? And that's something else you can ask yourself. When you're writing an email template, go through every sentence and say, does this somehow convey to them what is in it for them? The whole thing revolves around them. And I know you're probably hearing this and you're thinking, well, if it revolves, what about me? You're doing this so that you can close the client and you can make more money. But when you satisfy the lead, when you satisfy the client and you give them what they want, they'll stay with you forever. They'll keep giving you work. They'll keep paying you. So really, your priority shouldn't be like, oh, I got to close this client. I got to make the money. It should be, I should give them what they want. Because if you do that, you're going to get what you want. So a little bit of a mindset shift, but also you need to think about that in your communication, whether it's over the phone, over email. It should always be, your goal should always be to serve them. Because by serving them, you're going to get what you want. So it's a win-win. They get results, you get the revenue. Okay? The fourth one, another biggie. I feel like I say that about all of these, but that's because they're all important. You always have to end with a call to action. Always. When we say call to action, it's kind of self-explanatory, but it's a sentence, a statement, or a question that prompts the lead, the recipient, to take some sort of action. So as an example of what you don't want to do, you don't want to end your emails with something like, hope to hear from you soon, or I look forward to talking to you soon. Who cares? They're going to see that and they're going to be like, all right, cool. And then they're going to go back to their life. you need to do something that requires them to respond, because they're not just going to take it upon themselves to do it. They're not going to read an email that ends with, I look forward to talking soon. And they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to schedule a call with this person. You have to tell them, let's schedule a call. So you always want to end with some kind of statement that gets them to take action. Well, let's take this one step further, because there are some CTAs that are way more effective than others. When you are coming up with a CTA, a call to action, there are two big things that you're looking for. One, it should be very concrete. So instead of, would you like to get on a call to discuss more? You want something like, would you like to get on a call this Thursday at 2 p.m. to discuss more? One is a lot more tangible than the other because it's grounded in those specifics. You suggested a day and a time. And, if you think about it, we want to make this whole process as easy on them as possible because they're busy and they're impatient. So if you say something like, would you like to get on a call to discuss more? And they say yes, then you just have to email them again and say, okay, how about this day and time? We can easily cut out that one step in communication, that one email, by right off the bat suggesting a day and time. So that's the first thing. You want it to be concrete. But also, another biggie is, hold on, there's one question in the chat I want to answer. How about, how's your schedule this week for a call? Okay, so that's actually kind of ties into what I'm about to explain. That's a good example. The second thing, hold on, I just lost my train of thought. Concrete, and second thing, make it easy on them to answer. So we had someone in the chat who suggested, how's your schedule this week for a call? That can work if you're framing it as, tell me a time that would work for you. And it's something you could split test, even saying, how's your schedule this week for a call? Do you have any time on Friday or whatever? And the reason we add that second sentence is it could possibly make it even easier for them to answer. So going back to my last example, when I said, I used the example of, would you like to get on a call to discuss more? It's like, it's easy to answer because it's a yes or no response, but what are we trying to do? We're trying to schedule a time for a call. We're trying to get them on a call. So we want to make it as easy on them as possible to say, yes, let's get on a call, and nail down a time. And there are multiple ways to do this. So you can say, how's your schedule this week for a call? Would Wednesday work? And when you say that, you're narrowing down the day, and then you let them narrow down the time. And you can even say what time would work best, or you pick the time and I'll be there. Or you could give them three choices, three options. Say, here's my availability. Which of these times would work for you? And give them three different dates and times to pick from. Or, you could say, I have open availability on Wednesday and Friday. What time would be best? And the point here, and there are lots of examples of this, but the point is to start narrowing it down and not leave it too open-ended. Remember, the reason we use a call to action is because we don't want to end with, hope to hear from you soon. It's too open-ended. We want to get them to commit to more. So that's why we use a call to action. So if you're going to use a call to action, it needs to be something that gets them to commit to more. And there are infinite ways to word this, but the point is that you always need to keep in the front of your mind, and I know I'm repeating myself, but this is important. Is it helping to move this relationship forward? And considering the goal of the email, which is get them on a call, is it helping move us toward this call? If it is, then your CTA is good. If not, you need to restructure it. I gave you a few examples already, and like I said, there are a million. It just needs to meet those few requirements I mentioned and accomplish a goal. And if it does that, then it's going to prompt them to take action and commit to that call, or help you narrow down a date at the very least. You might have to do a little back and forth emailing, and that's okay. But the goal is to not end with, hope to hear from you soon. All right. Questions, comments, feedback, anything. So Johan, in response, again, I want to address how's your schedule this week for a call? That can absolutely work. I have definitely used that. If you've got someone who's a little more proactive, they might be like, sure, how about Wednesday? Or you might get a response that's like, yeah, I have some time this week. And then you have to respond and say, okay, how about Wednesday? So you can absolutely use that. Just bear in mind that it could go either way. You might have to follow up with them one more time to say, here's a time, will this work? Or here are a few times. And even if you do have a perfect call to action, every now and then you're still going to get leads who don't directly respond to it. Like they'll respond with a question about you or your services. So is it going to work flawlessly 100% of the time? No, nothing does. But to reiterate, in case you're not already sick of hearing it, everything about your email should serve to move it forward. We're not trying to be pen pals. We're not trying to just shoot the, can't say that word on YouTube. We're not here to chit chat. Of course, you don't want to open your email with, hey, let's get on a call. We're not trying to, breathe down their neck too much. You still want to be friendly and professional, but also cut to the chase. What else? It's a little bit of a shorter one today. My last few streams were like an hour plus. So I tried to make this one today so that it would be like under a half hour, and to see how you guys like that, if shorter ones work better. I don't know, I'm just testing it out. But yeah, I'm still here if you have questions or feedback. And otherwise, that was all I had for you for today. But happy to answer any questions. Again, we're talking about cold and warm emailing. I explained earlier in the stream that what we talked about apply to both. Even with warm emailing, when you've already established a relationship with that lead, you still want to keep the email concise. I know it's when we're talking about sales, which again, even though this kind of falls under the umbrella term of email marketing, it's less marketing, more sales. And I know when we're talking about sales, there's that you feel like you have to prove yourself and you feel like you have to convince them. Convince is a better way to say it, because you're selling yourself, you're selling your services. So the inclination for most of us, we go so far in the wrong direction, talking about ourselves, talking about why we're the best, why they should work with us, why we're better than our competitors. Some of those points are good to include, but always in regards to how they benefit from it. It's all about the lead, not about us. And really indirectly, by making your email all about them, you are conveying to them why you're better. But again, it's just doing it from their own perspective. Hope that makes sense. If any of that doesn't make sense, feel free to stop me, drop something in the chat, and I'll explain more. Any other questions, comments? I'll hang out here for another minute or so, just in case you're typing. All right, I think that's it for today. a little more quiet today. I wonder if it's because normally I do these streams at like 9 or 10 in the morning, and I did this one a little late today. So we got a smaller crowd. All right, that's it. I'm going to cut the stream now. If you have any questions that you think of after the fact, this video will be processed and up on my page no later than like tomorrow morning. I always upload it immediately when it's done, like process it, but YouTube takes a while. I think just because it's long, it's a longer video. But it will be up on my page indefinitely, and if you have any questions, you can just drop them in a comment on the video or get at me on social. And that's it. And if you have any requests for future streams, I'll probably be doing another one Thursday. I'm trying to do 2 a week. But yeah, if you have any suggestions or topics you want me to cover for Thursday, I am still planning it out. I haven't finalized it yet, so we have time. If you want to get a topic in, like today, it's 2:55 Pacific for me. So if you can get it into me by like 5 p.m. Pacific, I can have it ready for Thursday. And I'll do my best to cover that if someone makes a suggestion. Okay? So I think that's it. And thanks for being here, and thanks for your time. And stay in touch, and I'll see you guys Thursday. All right? See ya later.